The season of Valentine is synonymous with love, but love in itself is not a function of Valentine. Conversely, Valentine is just one of the many expressions of love. Today I'm going to be doing a cross-pollination of terms, love story, and Valentine. And it is my greatest expectation that at the end of this conversation, we're going to be arriving at one of the powerful tools or genres of drama called romance. So the question I'd like for you to ask yourself right now is, what imperative does romance hold in the artistry of a scriptwriter? That's exactly what I need for you to be asking yourself right now. But first, my name is Umoita, and all I do on this channel is to talk to you on script writing at the professional level. So let's do this together. First of all, I'd like for you to understand that romance goes beyond the idea or conceptualization of love. Of course, love factors strong in the idea of romance, but it is not the totality of romance. Romance is actually, for the scriptwriter, a structured, a functional and emotional genre to drive character development or character growth, and of course, audience investment. Romance is usually characterized by specific pacing, the need for a happily ever after or a happy for now ending, and of course a focus on intimate character development or intimate character conflict. There is a deeper sense into this, so I'd like for us to take this journey together as we do this together. So what are the imperatives of romance to the artistry of script writing? What are the importance that romance holds in the artistry of script writing? Number one, romance is a unique pacing engine. That is to say, romance controls the tension of the story and the anticipation of the audience. Basically, in script writing, romance operates more on the basis of release and tension rather than on the cycle of practical or physical action. What does that mean? A, anticipation. There has to be an anticipation earlier on from the audience's part of a possible or potential relationship between these characters, even though in most cases, these characters present themselves as antagonists to each other. Will they not? What is the point in storytelling or in love story or in romance that we call the will there or will there not point? It is a point where the characters are struggling, they are trying to have a blend between each other. So the audience is trying to figure out, are these characters likely to end up together? These characters are always chaotic, antagonistic to each other. There's no possible outcome. It's not possible that these characters will end up. But in the midst of this chaos, in the midst of this confusion and discombobulation in the mind of the audience, there seems to be just maybe this character would end up together. Now, the question is usually answered by the next thing I want to talk about, the release scene. The release scene. The release scene is usually a point in time in the story or in the romance where we find that walls are collapsing, tensions are breaking, chaos are giving way to something more palpable, more, subtle and, intimate. So the release scene is usually a point of intimacy between the two characters, usually typified by maybe a kiss, a confession, something that talks about intimacy, something that informs intimacy, something that tells intimacy. Even though in most cases, this again is usually for just a little period of time. Romance is a structure for character growth. We need to see a love story that allows the characters to be able to build arsenal and devise mechanism for them to be able to fight both internal and external forces, conflicts, limitations, baggage, chaos, whatever. We need to have the point of the authentic vulnerability. What does this mean? The characters must be able to show the audience, not just tell the audience, how that they've been able to grow, how that they've been able to take a journey of growth from one point to the other. We need to see how that a character who used to be very chaotic, who used to be very arrogant, is now subtle, is now, humble and all that. So the growth journey of every character in a love story is very important. So the characters have to be able to tell the audience, show the audience how that they've been able to journey in their growth pursuit. Again, there should also be the point of spark or the spark moment. What is the spark moment? The spark moment in a love story is the point where the characters share a connection that differentiates them from everybody else. It is that point where you can call the audience's moment, or the moment the audience has been waiting for. Number 3, defined rules and expectations. What does this mean? A, the happy ending. The expectation of the audience is usually that every love story should have a happily ever after or a happily now. So, the point is the audience always has the expectation, the optimism that every love story or every romance should end on a happy note. B, the meet cute. The meet cute in a love story or in romance talks about that moment of initial connection between the characters. That connection that sets the pace for the relationship in the future. That moment where the audience is like, wow, this is how it's going to begin. That point where the audience is like, oh wow, this is beautiful. This is that point where it resonates more with the audience, just the same way it resonates with the characters. The midpoint or the breakup. The midpoint or the breakup has to do with that time in love story or in romance where the characters are forced to go their separate ways. Maybe because of internal factors like fear, insecurity, chaos, or by external factors. It is a point where the audience doesn't like, because the audience wants to see the characters happy, together, united, and in love. They just don't want to see their love story come to an abruption. But sometimes the characters can't help it but to be forced to go their separate ways. Romance can be a tool for subplotting or genre blending. This simply means that romance can function as a primary genre of a film or as a subplot in a film. So whether it is science fiction, it is drama, it is comedy, whatever genre of film it is that you're seeing, romance can either be the primary, the major focus of the film, or it can also serve as a subplot in the film. Sometimes romance can become the emotional heart that keeps the audience glued. Whether you're seeing a science fiction film, you're seeing an action film, crime and investigation, comedy, romance can be that beautiful emotional heart of that film, because everybody loves love. So it can either be a tool for subplotting, or it can stand alone as a genre blender. Either way, dialogue and subtext. What does this mean? First, romance can serve as revealers of desires. When we see love stories or watch romance, we do not just see characters communicating. We do not just see chemistries and nuances flying all over the place. Sometimes these are typical confession, typical conveyance of the desires of the characters. So romance is that vehicle that helps the communication, that helps the conveyance of the deep desires of the characters in the story. So when we see the characters acting in certain ways or speaking in certain ways, saying certain things, their eyes flinching, their brows dropping, their eyes squinted, or the wink, those things are conveying strong, deep emotions. So romance is that tool, that instrument, that vehicle that helps us bring to the fore, that helps us bring to the knowledge of the audience how that this character is having this deep sensational feeling, this deep uncommunicated feeling, desire in them for another character. Sometimes in ways that are very obvious to the audience, and at other times in ways that the audience is still trying to figure out, what is this character really thinking? They are always fighting, but something seems to be running in their head for each other. So romance is that tool, that vehicle that helps us come to that place of okay. So that's the power of romance. Another thing you need to understand when romance is involved is that the characters don't always say it out. They do not always speak out their feelings. They do not always say out their desires. Sometimes it is in non-verbal communications. But there has to be some actions. There has to be some body language, some nuances that happen between the characters before we now hear them speak up their minds. Romance is a beautiful, 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 beautiful vehicle. It's a piece that is so strong in love storytelling that The audience need to feel, the audience need to be carried along on every step of the character's journey, to see their struggles, their fightings, their ups, their downs, their limitations, their oppositions, their points of breaking out, their points of going their separate ways, their points of reconnections, their point of tearing together, their point of marrying together, their point of crying together, their point of devastation, their point of, breaking loose, and then beautifully ending together. Because it has to end on a beautiful note. I mean, the audience wants a happy ending. Everybody loves love. So romance is a powerful, powerful tool in the hands of a writer in storytelling, because the audience wants to see to the depth and to the end of what the writer has in mind, which is usually a happy ending. Thank you so much for staying through, and I really, really hope you enjoyed and you learned. All I do on the channel is to talk to you on script writing the professional way. My name is Umoita, and again, if this is your first time on the channel, I beseech you to subscribe to the channel and also pass the link to other people who knows who might find this really instrumental. Thank you so much for seeing this video to this point, and I definitely would see you in my next video. Bye-bye.